Welcome back to Spring for Homestead. I'm Nikki, and here is your question of the week. I see this one come up all the time in groups, and it's one of my favorite questions because some of you may not know I used to sell appliances, and that is, can you can on a glass top stove? All right, so there's two parts to this, pressure canning and water bath canning. And yes, there is a difference as far as what you're canning in. First, I'm going to tell you, always check with your manufacturer. And the reason I say that is some of them will void the warranty on your stove if they find out you've been canning on it. By and large, and we'll get into this in a second, by and large, it's perfectly safe, depending on what you're canning with. But you do have to check with your manufacturer because, like I said, if they, and this happened years ago, I worked for a company that said, you really can't do that in their booklet, even though it was perfectly safe. And the person had been canning, and there was a little bit of a ring on the stove that she didn't get clean. Turned out her kid actually dropped something on the stove, shattered the top, or something along those lines. Anyway, they came out to repair it, and they said, hey, we're not touching this. You've been canning on it and violates your warranty. It had nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing to do with it. That's not why the stovetop broke. But they voided the warranty on the rest of the stove anyway because she violated the warranty agreement. So check that first, especially if it's a newer stove. If it's not covered anymore, then hey, do what you will. Okay, so the long and short answer of it is you have to have a canner that is perfectly flat on the bottom. And so what happens is a lot of people will try and water bath can with the old Grannyware canners. The bottom is rippled. I should have brought mine in. I didn't think about it. It's rippled, right? So when you have it on the stove, it actually will build up heat irregularly in those ripples. And it can cause a little bit of thermal shock and can actually cause it to break. I've seen this happen in some really cool videos back when I was working for Lowe's many, many years ago. So if you're going to can on a glass top stove, it has to be perfectly flat. Now the Presto canners, like the pressure canners, perfectly flat on the bottom. So when we had a glass top stove, I would pressure can in my Presto. But I would also water bath in my Presto. I would just take the pressure can lid off, take my old Grannyware lid and put it on and treat the canner as a water bath canner, and it worked fine. It's all about making sure that you've got good canner bottom to stove contact, and that's kind of the big thing. Now, a lot of modern stoves, and you'd have to look at this, have a heat I can't remember exactly what it's called, but anyway, it's a timed shutoff. So what happens is if the canner is running at a certain, especially with pressure canning, you're going to run that thing for a couple hours by the time you vent and everything. Some of the modern stovetops now have sensors and all the fun stuff built in to where if that thing is on for too long, it shuts the burner off, which is a disaster when you're trying to pressure can. So make sure to look into that. If it's got some kind of auto shut off, it's probably not going to work. It'll probably still work fine for water bathing because most of the time they will go up to 60 minutes. I've heard that there's a couple that go up to 90, but for the most part, those timers usually go into effect at 60 minutes and it'll shut your stovetop down. Basically, it's to try and keep your house from burning down in case they think you've left a burner on. So yes, the long and short of it, yes, you can. You've just got to use the right equipment and make sure that it's not going to void your warranty. You may also check your manual and see if they've got any other warnings in there. The other concern, the only other big concern is I would not personally try and pressure can on a glass top with an all-American canner. They are freaking heavy. I got one gifted to me for Christmas a couple years ago, and they weigh a ton. And this is where you kind of get into this situation where you could crack it just from sheer weight. By the time you got that canner, jars full, water's in there, you've got a lot of weight going on in there, and I don't think I would do that. But if you're canning with something lightweight like the aluminum Prestos, there's a couple other brands, you should be okay. You should be okay. But do your homework. Make sure that you've double checked because nobody wants to do it and accidentally break a stovetop and void a warranty. So there you go. There is my answer to can you can on a glass top stove. And yeah, you pretty much can. That's it for this week. If you have other questions, please leave them down in the comments. You can always send them to me at srhomestead@yahoo.com. And I'm going to get back to work. See you next time. Happy homesteading.